if I'm gonna do a collaboration, somebody got to have control. You
Indeed.
know, and if you jump on a record with someone, and the reason I gave two extremes, Young Dolph being one and Talib Kweli being one. You know, Young
Yes.
Dolph has a certain message, and
Right.
it ain't clean. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And nothing that Young Dolph says we can say that he lived in the kingdom. But
Right.
Talib Kweli or Most Def, they're positive rappers. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're not preaching genocide. They're not downgrading women. They're not, and I think so much of what's wrong in the black community is due to, what our kids, man, are listening to. And I
Right.
do because I understand, man, music is entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, as Christians, man, we can still like to be entertained. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
And there's before my wife, man, likes scary pictures. Like,
Yeah. Mine
you know,
too.
and, and I hate them joints. Like,
Yeah.
I would never watch them before I got married to my wife.
Yeah.
Like, she grew up on, like, they're not afraid of her, man. She was watching and she laughed like they crazy. I'm sitting there just shaking in my boots, but I was so religious, man, and I felt like,
Yeah.
man, God will send me to hell because I'm watching scary pictures.
Yeah.
But then when I got married to my wife, I realized, man, that I started liking it. To
Mm-hmm.
where it's not the insane stuff. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because
Mm-hmm.
I think that it can go overboard.
Indeed.
But my wife, man, taught me, you know, how to be balanced. Because
Indeed.
sometimes as Christians, bro, we can we can we can flow out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
We can be so all the way to the right to where we're no earthly good. You know,
Indeed.
no one can communicate with us. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we can't
Yeah.
do anything. And if we want to try to, and the reason why I brought up some of these points, man, with collaborations, because I know that the Lord, man, want to touch the world. Because
Indeed.
right now the world is on the slide down. Like it's getting crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you have to collaborate to get to a bigger audience because if we just put ourselves in the room
Right.
and
We boxing ourselves off.
nobody hear how great your words are. Nobody
Right.
hear how great your message is. You know what
Right.
I mean? If you do get an opportunity to jump on a record with someone that has a bigger audience and you
Mm-hmm.
understand, that's why I'm glad you mentioned that you have to lay ground rules. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what you gonna talk about on this record.
Mm-hmm.
Now what you decide to talk about on that album, I ain't got nothing to do with that. But if I'm
Right.
jumping on this record,
Right.
right, it has because my audience
Right.
is gonna reach for this record
And
because I'm on the
exactly.
record. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And and
Exactly.
and being able to kind of properly, you know, because I think that's where we miss the ball, man. As believers, we we
Mm-hmm.
we we get into a box and we don't want to. We become so sedated.
Mm-hmm.
We so special.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else so much worse than
Right.
who we
Right.
are.
Right.
They're not as smart as we are. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the thing that I want to say, man, is I think it's important, man, that people have a balance.